Hey everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for hanging out with Mr. Bauer today. We're going to talk a little bit about finding the perimeter of rectangles, and then we're going to go to some different shapes, but if you look closely you'll see that there's just a bunch of rectangles there. So a song that I sing all the time is to find a shape's perimeter, perimeter, perimeter. To find a shape's perimeter, just add all the sides, and that's all you got to do. So when we take a look at these rectangles, we just have to add all of these sides. I also think about a perimeter as kind of like being a fence around an area. So in my garden, I've got fences around there, and in order to figure out how long my fence needs to be, I'd need to know how long all of the sides are. So we've got some rectangles here, and all of these rectangles have two numbers there. So we have to do a little work, because in this first example, we've got 8 and 2. Well, if we add 8 plus 2, we get 10. Now, 10 is not the perimeter. We didn't add all of the sides. So, what do we know about a rectangle? Well, we know that opposite sides have equal length. We know that we have 90-degree square corners in each for all of the angles. And then we know that the opposite sides are parallel. So when we know those things, if this side is 8, then we also know that this side is going to be 8. If we know that this side is 2, then we're going to know that that side is also 2. So we can add these up in many different ways, whatever works best for you. I noticed that 8 and 2 makes 10, and 8 and 2 makes 10. So if I add 8 plus 2, we have 10. Plus 8 plus 2, we have 10. So our perimeter, and they give us the term centimeters here. It's not to scale, but that would be 20 centimeters. Okay, we'll take the same approach for number 2. If this side is 8, then the opposite side, which is parallel and 90-degree angles, that would be 8 as well. If this side is 9, then this side is 9 as well. Okay, here we'll go 9 plus 8 is 17, 8 plus 9 is 17, 17 plus 17 is 34 centimeters. Okay, let's try one more. We've got 6, so if this side's 6, the opposite side is also 6. If this side is 5, then the opposite side is also 5. Again, I like to add 10, so we got 5 plus 5 is 10, 6 plus 6 is 12, so 10 plus 12 is 22 centimeters. Okay, with the next one, I'm going to show you a little bit different way we can use a formula that helps us out, and that way, no matter what the numbers are, you can just plug the numbers into the formula. So we've got 2L, right? We've got two lengths. We've got this length and this length. And then we're going to add 2 widths. All right, so we've got 2L plus 2W, and that is going to equal we'll call that P for perimeter. Okay, so we've got 2L, so that'd be 2 times 8. Plus, and then we've got 2 times 4. So we know that we do 2 times 8 and 2 times 4. 2 8s, remember there's those 2 8s, there's one here, that would be 16. We got 4 and 4 here, so 2 times 4 would be 8. So we just add 16 plus 4 is 24 centimeters. So you could add these individually. 8 plus 4 is 12, 8 plus 4 is 12, and 12 plus 12 is 24. Or you could put it into that formula. Okay, let me show that formula one more time here. So we've got, we'll have 2 lengths, and then we'll add 2, and we could do it a different way. We could say 2 heights as well. That could also be this distance. It depends on how you're looking at the rectangle. So we've got 2L. So our lengths are 9 here, 9 here. So we've got 2 times 9. And then we also have a height of 2, and this would be a height of 2. So we have 2 groups of 2. And now we can solve those. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 2 is 4. So 18 plus 4 equals 22 centimeters. So if I needed a fence for this, it would be need to be 22 centimeters long. Okay? Or you could do 9 plus 2 is 11. 9 plus 2 is 11. And 11 plus 11 is 22. Okay, so just adding up all those sides. That might be a review for some of you, but let's take a look at something that's a little bit more complicated. And these are called rectilinears. So it says find the total perimeter of each shape, and this time we'll use millimeters. Notice that it's not to scale. Okay. And when we're finding a shape's perimeter, we have to add all the sides. Now, this is a little bit different. We don't have all of the sides. We have 4 of them, but we need 7 total. So what do? What I like to do is, first thing I like to do is I like to try to find rectangles that make sense to me. So I'm going to cut these into 2 rectangles. This line here is just going to be imaginary. So if I look at this rectangle here, if this side is 3, then that side's going to be 3. If this side's 9, then this side has to be, wait a minute, that side needs to be 9, but we already got a part here. So we got to do a little thinking. We have to use some reasoning. If this side is 9, and part of that side over here is 3, I've got 9 total. I've got 3 plus something here. We'll call this, how about A? And then we've got this side here, and that would match the 9 over here. So we'll call that B. All right. Now I noticed that this side, or this length, and this length, and this length all look the same. So I've got 1, 2, 3 sides. And I know that 3 groups of 3 equals 9. So that would mean that A would equal 3, and B would equal 3. So instead of A, we're going to call that 3. Instead of this being B, we're going to call that 3. Okay, now we have these figured out. We have one more left. Now you always want to double check and make sure you have all of the sides. So if this here is 2, then this here is also going to be 2. Now don't get tricked. We've got a rectangle here, but remember that we are dealing with a different shape. So while this length right here over here is 3, we are not counting that. All right, we're not counting that because that's on the inside. We'll look at some other examples that'll make even more sense. So let's just go ahead and add these up. We don't have a formula other than just adding them up. We've got 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17, plus 3 is 20, plus 2 is 22, plus 3 is 25, plus 3 is 28. Now I'm going to write that down. And one important thing that that when working with math is you got to make sure you're accurate. So I'm going to go through and add this one more time. I'm going to go the other way just to make sure I've got it. So we'll start with the 3 here. We've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 3 is 14, 15, 16, plus 3 more is 17, 18, 19, and 19 plus 9 is 28. So there we can find that perimeter. Okay, all right. Next one here is we got some work to do. Like I said, I like to divide these into a way that would make the most sense. So what we have to do is we have to label a few of these sides. We need to figure out that measurement. We need to figure out that measurement. We need to figure out that measurement. And we need to figure out that measurement as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I see these rectangles right here. I think we can do that in 2 shots. I'm going to cut that. Okay, so we have this little rectangle up here. And our 5 is saying that it's that long. So if this side's 5, then that side has to be 5. Check, done, awesome. Now notice this rectangle down below. We've also have 5 here. So 5, that would make this side 5 as well. Great. Okay. Now this one's a little tricky because we have some overlap. All right. So I know that this whole length is 6. And this part is 3. Okay, so if this part's 3, that would mean, if we look here, we're only dealing with whole numbers here, that would mean that this side's going to be 1. We've got 2 parts that are overlapping. And if this length is 1 here, how much would this length be? If the whole thing would be 6, well, there's 1 part here, there's 1 part here. So we have 6, we've counted for 2 of the parts, so 6 minus 2 will tell us that that side length is 4. Okay, now we have them all labeled, and to find a shape's perimeter, just add all the sides. So here we go. You got 5, 6, 11, 17, 22, 26, 31, and 34 millimeters. Now again, like I said, I want to be precise, so I'm going to add these in a different order, a different way. So we got 5, 9, 14, 20, 25, 26, 31, and 34. All right, so 34 is our answer. All right, so when you get dealing with these shapes that don't look exactly like rectangles, you look a little bit closer, you can split those into rectangles. All right, last thing I want to take a look at is some perimeter word problems. Okay, so this is a sheet full of area and perimeter. We'll work on area the next time, but let's just jump down to number 3. We'll use what we know here. It says a rectangle swimming pool is 9 meters wide with a surface area of 90 square meters. What is the length of the pool? All right, so I'm going to draw a little picture here. It's a rectangle. Now my rectangle is probably not going to be drawn to scale, but I need something so I can look at that. Okay, it says it's 9 meters wide. Okay, I'll call that 9. So the opposite side has to be 9. And it says the area is 90. That means that the area on the inside is going to be, let's see, we'll call that meters squared. So whatever our length is, we've got to figure out one side times the other to get to 90. Okay, so we could write it down as a formula. We know one side, we don't know the other, and we know the total is 90. All right, so 9 times what equals 90? Okay, 9 times 10 is going to be 90, so we could say the length is 10 meters. So this would be 10, and this would be 10. The total perimeter would be 10 plus 10 is 20, 9 plus 9 is 18. So the perimeter would be 38, but it's just asking for the length of the pool, and the length of the pool is right here. Okay, when you're working with these perimeter and area word problems, you really got to look closely to what the question is asking. Okay, let's try another one here. It says an envelope from the post office is 3 inches wide with a total area of 30 square inches. What's the height of the envelope? All right, so we can draw our envelope here again. And again, it's not going to be the scale. It's not going to be perfect. You see that my 10 up here was much longer than my 9, but that's okay. It's just giving us something to look at, using a model to help. So it says it's 3 inches wide, so 3 inches here, 3 inches here. And it says the total area is 30 inches squared, which means that if you cut this up into 1-inch squares, there would be 30 of them. So again, we're going to take, for our area, we have base times height equals area, or you could say base times width equals area. Now we don't know the base, so we'll leave the base as b, and we'll multiply it by the width, or the height, depending on how you're looking at it. That's 3, and then our area is going to be 30. So all we have to do is figure out what times 3 equals 30. How much times 3 equals 30? And in this case, b is going to equal 10, because 10 times 3 is 30. Now this one's drawn to scale a little bit better, but again, it's not perfect. It's just our model. All right, let's try one more here. And this is a little bit different. Like I said, you got to be very careful with how the question, or what the question's asking. So it says a book had a length of 5 inches and a width of 8 inches. What is the perimeter of the book? Now, since we know the length and the width, we can draw this a little bit better to scale. So let's see, it's we got about that long, about so. Make that pretty close. Won't be exact, but pretty close. So the book had a length of 5, so it's 5 that long. And the width would be that wide. All right, so we've got our sides labeled. And if we're finding the perimeter, we just need to add all the sides. So we have 2 groups of 8, and we have 2 groups of 5. And we can multiply those. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 2 times 5 is 10, and 16 plus 10 is 26. Looking at our inches here, so we're dealing with length, so we're going to have 26 inches. And if we add those up, 8 plus 5 is 13, and 8 plus 5 is 13, so we have a total of 26. The perimeter of that book is 26. All right. Let's see. Thanks again for hanging out with Mr. Bauer. We'll see you in the next video, and make sure to check out the video on finding area as well. That'll help with the other part of this worksheet. So thanks again, and we will see you next time.